On today's episode of the DeRaud-Messinger Show, we're talking Texas, Alabama. Dylan doesn't get any better than that. Longhorns fans, don't forget to like and subscribe for more content. It's greatly appreciated. So to begin, Dylan, yes, we're talking about this highly anticipated ranked matchup between Texas and Alabama. And of course, I got game info for you guys because I don't want you to pull up to the wrong town in Alabama. I'm so kind. The game will be Saturday, September 9th at 6 p.m. Central Time at Bryant-Denny Stadium in Tuscaloosa, Alabama, televised on ESPN with College Game Day being present. Oh, it's just everything's shaping up. And Bama is favored. The line's moving a little bit, but favored by about 6.5, 7 points. So basically a touchdown. So Dylan, just getting us into that scouting report, what are you feeling about this Bama team this year?
Yeah, I mean, a lot of change. They don't have the household names like last year with Bryce Young, Jameer Gibbs, um,
Your boy.
Will Anderson. Yep, my boy Gibbs doing great things in the NFL this week, or going to be doing great things on Thursday. But that's besides the point. But if there is one thing that never changes with this Bama team, Devon, is that Nick Saban is still wearing the headset, and you can still always count on him, right? And they're coming off a 56-7 win over Middle Tennessee State, in which they took care of business. Jalen Milroe was subbed out with 8 minutes left in the third quarter. So again, they did kind of the things that you'd want Texas to have done, in which they are just plodding away at that Middle Tennessee defensive line and really showing why they're a top four team, right? And on top of that, Devin, Nick Saban is 28-2 against former assistants. His only losses are to Kirby Smart and Jimbo Fisher. So in Sark's case, history is kind of against him pulling off this win, right? But besides the point, we still got to talk about who's actually on the field. It's not just all about the coaches. And first off, question marks here, Devin. Curious to see how he was going to perform in this game. We only had one sample, and that was against Texas A&M. But this is Jalen Milroe. He went 13 for 18 passing and 194 pass yards with 3 touchdowns. So obviously not a whole lot of yards passing, but where he can really do his damages with his legs. And when I say can really do some damage, it's his legs are honestly top 5, Devin, in the
Whoa.
NCAA. And I'm saying,
Whoa.
like, just
His
speed-wise,
legs.
quarterback, like, hey,
we,
take it.
we, we
I kind
talking
of
about
sound
his
horrible,
legs, though. Come on.
but again, and listen,
He's
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 fast.
like I was talking to Dylan. He's kind of got the Lamar Jackson-esque where it's like
Mm.
he is a legitimate threat at running the football. Not like a lot of dual threat guys where it's like, oh, he can run the football. Like Milroe will beat you with his
Yes.
legs. But yes,
And the
go ahead.
knock, and yeah, and the knock against him, this is the funniest part, the knock against him is his arm. And you weren't seeing that. They were just kind of doing quick throws in the first quarter. And then halfway through the second quarter, Devin, the possession or maybe play before what I'm about to talk about is I have not seen him throw the ball deep. And there's not a lot of power behind those throws either. So it's kind of like, well, if Texas can get pressure, force them into obvious passing downs, what is Alabama going to be able to do? And then he uncorks an absolute bomb to Isaiah Bond, who's also incredibly fast. If we want to talk about more legs here, and just he's a track star,
Oh
right? Like
gosh.
great player in that sense too. And then you're just like, uh-oh. Like now he can also air it out. So they're drawing the defense in with just his ability to run. And then now he can also just dump it off over the top, including another play to Jermaine Burton in the
Jermaine
third,
Burton.
Devin. So, yeah, he's going to be a good player, and he is definitely somebody, as a Texas fan, you got to be watching out for. And then in the running back group, this is where it's kind of like the difference with this Alabama team, because they have got Chase McClellan and then the backup running back, Roydell Williams. Both of them only ran for over 30 yards. McClellan had 39 yards rushing and a touchdown, and Williams only had 36 yards. So not like a whole lot to go off of. They were really leaning with Milroe more so just when it came to the rushing attack, and they were also just able to get off the field pretty quickly with those deep routes that they were connecting on. And then with the receiving core, this is a big part of the game too with Isaiah Bond, who I just talked about. 5'11", very fast, can beat any cornerback just off the jump, really, with that speed. He had 5 receptions for 76 yards, mainly off of that giant pass from Milroe. And then you got Jermaine Burton, who also had another deep pass to him as well. He had 3 receptions for 63 yards and a touchdown. He's the Georgia transfer. He's going to be more of the guy that's catching in traffic, Devin. Maybe more of those kind of like highlight possession plays, while as Bond is the more speedy receiver. And then you've got 6'4" tight end Amara Neblack. This is a matchup nightmare. 233 pounds. He only had 2 receptions, 49 yards. Still a young player. But, man, if him and Milroe can connect on just passes just in the kind of intermediary area, like, sky's the limit there. It's going to be very hard for Jalen Ford to kind of match up against him on the outside. And then with that offensive line, there was a graphic that they showed on the broadcast where they took the average NFL size of weight and height. I think the tallest team in NFL's team was the New England Patriots, or actually, I think this is the average, 6'5" and 315. The Alabama offensive line, Devin, is 6'5" on average and 339 pounds. And that's brought up by freshman 5-star left tackle Caden Proctor, 4-star sophomore offensive guard Tyler Booker.
Oh, okay.
I think
other than Proctor. Yeah.
Yeah, and then former 5-star junior right tackle J.C. Latham. So these guys are just built on the offensive line. Now, they didn't have a great game against Middle Tennessee State, kind of similar to how the Longhorns played, where they have a ton of potential, but you didn't necessarily see it out on the field. But this is a group that, if they start clicking, will wear down the defensive line. But that is the biggest matchup to highlight. I mean, not even physically and in the broad scheme of things, the biggest matchup will be the trenches between the defensive line of the Longhorns and the offensive line of Alabama.
Here, let me jump in here. I'll let you get defense.
Yeah, go for
after.
it. I need some water.
Just to let you get a little. He went coast to coast. That was LeBron there. But just to talk a little bit about what Dylan was saying, I also had the same sort of moment where I've known Jalen at least coming out of high school, not personally, but covering recruiting. I've kept an eye on him out of Katie Tompkins. The knock on him, Dylan, like you were saying, is he's a fast quarterback. He's got arm strength, but can he, hit the target with the football? So I'm watching the game, and that was kind of the knock on him even in camp. It's like, is he going to win this quarterback battle? He might not be the most accurate of guys. And, of course, Middle Tennessee, not the greatest of opponents. Same with Texas playing Rice. Like, no excuses there. But I was seeing him run. I was like, okay, well, that's kind of expected. He had the one kind of botched snap or whatever it was, or maybe he fumbled it, and he picked it up and ran around the entire team and found a way for like a 20-yard score. And I was like, okay, well, that's the Milroe I know. And then, like Dylan's saying, a couple plays later, at least in the highlight video, I'm seeing this deep bomb pass. I'm like, oh my gosh, that's some of the touch that I don't want to mention it, Dylan. It's some of the touch Quinn Ewers has been needing for the Longhorns. And it happened more than once in that game. Like you said, Burton got involved and Bond. And those were some pretty passes, put it right where they needed to go. So right now, at least Milroe is proving the haters wrong. Not saying that we're hating, but he's showing that he's capable of doing more than just running with the football at the quarterback position. Which, if you're a Texas Longhorns fan, maybe not the best time to be happy about the quarterback matchup. But that's my notes about Milroe. 5 total touchdowns last weekend against Middle Tennessee. And starting at running back, you got senior Jace McClellan. I feel so old having covered him, as a high school player, Dylan, and now he's about to graduate on us. What year is it? But I was telling Dylan, Jace McClellan, we're talking about it. They might not have those NFL first-round, high draft pick sort of caliber guys or, second rounders. But Jace McClellan, just in high school, Dylan, he run for 300 yards, you're not really paying serious attention to it, and then you look at the box score later, and you're like, what? Jace McClellan ran for 300 yards? I could have sworn that was like 78 yards. He's a quiet assassin. He gets the job done. Isn't going to, shine with his legs, as Dylan likes to say over there, but he'll get the job. He'll get the job done. But also, you'll be expecting something from senior running back Roydell Williams, who took some snaps, and he'll still have a good share. I think Alabama will like to spice it up with a couple different guys on Saturday. As Dylan mentioned, I'm not even going to, repeat the names basically, but you got Jermaine Burton, and Isaiah Bond are the guys for Bama who have looked dangerous in 1 week so far. But, Burton last year finished the year with 40 catches, 677 receiving yards, and 7 touchdowns, which is fairly decent with a Alabama roster that's always stacked and spreading the wealth accordingly. And then Dylan, I'll let you take defense. I'll get my breather in now. I'll let you go.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of talent. It's a young group, especially when you get kind of to the secondary with this team. And that was the biggest thing from the game, Devon, was a lot of injuries to three key players in that secondary. You got safety Malachi Moore, who left on a punt return with a left ankle injury. He was able to walk off on his own power, but he's not somebody that went back into the game. You had the dynamic punt returner and defensive back Kool-Aid McKinstry, Devon, your boy.
My boy.
He took a hard hit that they called a targeting on a Middle Tennessee player, but to the head kind of area, probably dealing with, I don't know if it was a concussion, but he didn't return back to the game. Maybe it was just precautionary by Saban not to have him re-enter the game, but obviously it's not good. And then you've got defensive back Jalen Key, who had the interception, the lone interception of the game, who also left the game at one point and didn't return, right? So they're banked up. Now, all three of those could very well play, and we won't know this until Saban probably releases it at like game time on Saturday.
He might
So
not even release it. He's just going to release the
literally
guys
might not.
on the field.
Yeah.
You're not going to see that. But no, of course you will.
You
5 seconds
Yeah,
before
you
the
just see
kick,
number
though.
6
Yeah.
walk back on the field. Yep.
Sark will do
But,
the same. I can't blame him. Yeah, but no, I agree. Any more names to talk about? In my notes, I just said this team is, as teams as old, maybe not as highly celebrated as a team like last year's, which still, I don't know if you know, but they lost their top 5 leading tacklers all to the NFL draft, which is pretty impressive, a stat that I think most teams would like to say. But on my end, I will throw out some names, but pretty much, when in doubt, even if they're down guys, they have NFL caliber future draft picks waiting, in the looms at the third string level. Did you have anyone else?
Well, yeah, I mean, again, sticking to the secondary, they had a 5-star freshman back there. I don't know if you know his name, but Caleb Downs. He led the team in with 8 tackles, and I know what you would say is if your safety's leading in tackles, not necessarily a great sign, but this dude can absolutely fly and pop running backs in the backfield. He had one where he just knifed the offense and just blew up the play, and he's a freshman, right? So it's kind of similar to if you watch Brian Branch, who's also going to be doing great things in Detroit this season. His ability just to kind of play
the Detroit part of that, maybe not the Brian Branch.
Okay, all right, let's call it. It's besides the point. All right, but kind of similar to how Caleb Downs would be kind of playing in a different position, but still in the same sense of being used as a guy that's just going to be all over the field blowing up plays, and he's only going to get better. And then Dallas Turner, who Alabama is looking at the linebacking core to be their kind of next great pass rusher, who only had like 2 assists on some tackles, Devon, but he's a guy that was disrupting just the entire all the plays basically off the film, right? So those are 2 more guys that I kind of wanted to touch on a little bit.
Wasn't it Turner that injured yours last year too? I could be wrong there. I could be mistaken.
Well, you would probably remember that. Yeah, you probably.
I believe so. I got
would.
Alabama players etched in my brain from the past.
Yes.
So, yeah, and like I said, Alabama, if you're a Texas fan, you just expect them to be loaded. And if you're a Bama fan watching this, you already know. You already know you're loaded. I mean, no excuse there. But the names too mentioned, Dylan already mentioned a couple of them. But one that you didn't talk about is redshirt sophomore linebacker Deontay Lawson. I believe he was the 6th leading tackler on the Alabama team last season. Like I said, the top 5 were all drafted, so he's back. So he will be the leader of that linebacker core, although they still got plenty of depth and guys there. And like you said, junior linebacker Dallas Turner. He was a big talking point last season. Injury and before the game, just a great player. And then Kool-Aid McKinstry, yet again, we'll see if he does end up playing this weekend. If he does, he'll be, just probably on Xavier Worthy the entire night. Whether that's a successful night for him or not, he's kind of had his ups and downs in last year's matchup. I believe he at least drew 1 DPI penalty. But just guys, throughout. And like I said, and like Dylan mentioned, this team is stacked. When you got guys like Caleb Downs, freshmen that are making plays. Yet again, I'm team safety leading the team in tackles. Not a great stat to have. But if you're making plays behind the line of scrimmage, like Downs is, that's another thing. It goes for kind of like Longhorns, Jahdae Barron, a cornerback who likes to play around the line of scrimmage and get his head in there for a tackle, which at times scares me, Dylan. At times I'm like, I don't want you to get injured here. But at other times it's like, okay, you just popped a guy. Now Downs, big recruitment for Alabama, and here it's playing off so far. So, props to them. Now, Dylan, X Factors. Who is the game changer that you're watching this week?
Yeah, on the Texas side, Devin, it's got to be that linebacking group of Jalen Ford, David Venda, and Jet Bush. It's just, and I'm highlighting them in this case because just priority number one of the game is going to be do not let Milrow get outside, and the best way to do that is clogging those scramble lanes as well as putting the spy on the quarterback. So when he does get out, you've always got a guy there waiting for it because the moment something breaks down where they send too many guys and he escapes and there's nobody left to tackle him, he can make defenders miss pretty easily, right? Especially if we're talking about kind of Lamar Jackson comparisons and just the way he's able to use his legs, right, to get away from people, right? So the biggest part of this unit with Texas, the strongest part of it is obviously the defensive line. So you kind of expect them to be needing to get to the quarterback, but it's going to really fall on how the linebacking group kind of handles it, especially with Amar Neblack at tight end, sending guys out there, whether that's Bush or Benda kind of covering them, right? Maybe even Ford in certain situations. It's going to be on those guys to really be the game changers in this matchup. And then on the Alabama side, the injured secondary, Devin. And again, they could all play, but that is a group that if they don't, it's young behind them. And again, you talked about it. It's NFL players waiting in the wing just for their moment on that Alabama roster. But these are still going to be guys that are young, inexperienced. A few of them are redshirt freshmen. So if Malachi Moore, Kool-Aid McKinstry, and Jalen don't play, or however combo you want to talk about it, it opens it up for viewers to have matchup problems with Worthy, with Mitchell, with Whittington, with JT Sanders. I mean, Texas, say what you want, but it's very hard to match up with them offensively, especially in that wide receiving group. So if they don't have the secondary to go, they're in for a long day. And especially if McKinstry is banged up and can't play 100%, you're going to see former five-star redshirt sophomore cornerback Terrion Arnold, Devin, have to go up against Worthy for most of the game rather than maybe switching McKinstry off with him. So that can kind of wear off with him. And then with Worthy's route running, could very well kind of break into the third quarter. So it's going to be that secondary. How healthy they are going to be going into this game will be a deciding factor in this matchup.
I agree, and I think that first point you were talking about, of course, all great points, but that first point about the linebacker core, I wonder if this is a game where, of course, we didn't see it really against Rice, unless I was just mistaken. We didn't see freshman linebacker Anthony Hill. Yet again, he probably at some point in the game was there, and it was fourth quarter, and just less eyes on the football. But I wonder if this is a game where they utilize someone like him, who's got the athleticism to kind of mirror, a Jalen Milrow in the pocket, keep contained. I wonder if this is a game where he gets some playing time, or maybe he's just being held out for just experience reasons. But that's something to keep an eye on. Jalen Ford today on Monday. That's to put the timestamp on when we're recording this video for you guys. It's an early recording week for us. But Jalen Ford was talking about how one of the keys in practice will be containment. He said that was a real point of emphasis last year with Bryce Young, but also the fact that Jalen Milrow is probably more of a threat running the football, which is saying something because Bryce Young, he slipped out of a sack last year, Dylan, which ended up probably winning Bama that game. Texas fans, I hope you plugged your ears for that part. I'm sorry for not having the trigger warning before. But Milrow definitely going to have to be kept in the pocket if you're a Longhorns fan. If he's out of the pocket, things get tricky because he's going to be able to dump it down or apparently hit the deep ball, Dylan. But also, if you give him a little running lane, he is going to make you pay. And Sark was kind of alluding to it in the post-game press conference as well, saying that the running lanes for the Texas defense could have been a little better. And he basically alluded to Milrow saying, well, if it was a running quarterback, we could have paid for that. This is the week where potential pay is in store. But Dylan, my one X factor for the game, and I never use this position, I feel like. I mean, you guys can look in the history of the videos. I'm sure I have. But for the sake of the argument, I don't talk about quarterback being an X factor because I feel like that's almost a cheat. But I'm talking about Quinn Ewers here. Of course, if you watch the Rice game, there were some flashes of, good, and there were some flashes of bad. But of course, if you're going to want to beat a team like Alabama, you're going to need more good and bad doing. That's not a expert take. That's not some scientist sort of evaluation I'm coming up with here. Quinn is going to have to, once again, stay out of the turnover category if the Longhorns want to win and just have a better feel for the pocket. Alabama is going to be sending guys and, throwing whatever weird formations and defensive alignments they have at Quinn. It's his ability to stay in the pocket and be cool, calm, and collected, which is going to really decide this football game for Texas because, as Dylan might note later, the Texas running back room right now is kind of a mixed bag in terms of we just don't know what we're going to get because they're all so young. Quinn is going to have to keep that Alabama defense playing against the pass versus playing against the run in order to set up the running game with C.J. Baxter, who should be healthy for the Bama game. He was banged up against Rice, but then Jonathan Brooks and Jadon Blue. It's really going to be up to Quinn just for the running game's sake, not even the passing game's sake. The passing game, of course, if you're going to want to win, I'm saying of course 100 times, Dylan, because if you're going to want to beat Bama, you need an A-plus sort of game out of your quarterback. Quinn Ewers is going to have to connect on that deep ball, but also spread the wealth to guys like Jatavion Sanders, Jordan Whittington. Xavier Worthy, of course, is going to be in the conversation regardless of what's going on. He's going to get his touches, but Quinn Ewers, just pocket composure and mechanics. I hate to say it, Dylan, the mechanics of it. You gotta be in there and take that hit. I hate to say it, the armchair quarterback saying take a hit is one thing. The guy that's, of course, taking the hit is in for a different
sort of. I mean, the one hit to us would be we'd be in the fetal position, never getting back up again.
100%.
But yeah, like you're saying, you can't be one-dimensional against Alabama, and they're going to force Ewers to make those decisions. And it's like you either can make this pass to Worthy and you're going to get hurt, or you can kind of dodge and only get a yard or so, right? So there's going to be a lot of those situations.
Exactly. They're just going to have to make Bama, respect him as a passer and just, put some guys out in the secondary versus stacking the box because Texas O-line, they had Bijan, they had Roshan Dillon. Those guys got their numbers. But if you watch the tape last year, those guys got their numbers in large part because they are NFL talent guys. They had to spin off quite a few tacklers. This is going to be a game for Texas where can they get some push against Alabama? If I'm being honest, the push against Rice was not too great. They were playing pretty much at the line of scrimmage or behind the line of scrimmage the whole night when they should have been in front of the line of scrimmage. But X factor for me, Quinn Ewers. Danger level, Dylan, I'm feeling like it's going to be a little bit of a sizzler for you. Is that true?
I mean, yeah, I got to go with a 10 here. There's so much danger, right? You're going into Tuscaloosa, night game. Game day's there. Herbstreit Fowler in the booth. It's got all the makings of just a great matchup, but also kind of playing in Alabama's favor in that sense because there's not many more things more iconic than Alabama kind of playing a night in these big games in Tuscaloosa with that crowd. So lot to be kind of wary of going into this game. That's why the danger level is so high. But Devon, this is a matchup where whoever kind of wins this game, the QB of the team is going to be propelled into Heisman hype situations alongside obviously Caleb Williams at USC. So it's a big game. It's going to kind of showcase what team is going in what direction and who's going to have to kind of build up from here after taking the loss. And the story of the game is going to be Ewers' deep ball accuracy, right? And we were nervous about it going into the game, and then we see it, and it doesn't come to fruition again. Like he's underthrowing guys. And then Milroe, you're seeing what an Alabama fan would have wanted to see and how he was going to be able to hit those deep throws, and he was. And that could be a one-off situation. He got lucky in this sense, or this is going to be a common theme, and he has really worked on that in the offseason. And this is the new Jalen Milroe that we're seeing. So something's gonna give. We're gonna get a lot more clarification in this game. But again, based off what Alabama gave us from the game film of last week against Middle Tennessee State, which again, talent not there with Middle Tennessee State, but they executed out there. They did what Alabama is supposed to against a lesser team, and the Longhorns didn't actually do that. And that's why I would kind of leave Alabama in the sense of danger level for Texas going into this is a 10.
Yeah, I'm going to have to agree with a flat 10. I don't think we can go 11 here because I think, Dylan, you went 11 last year. I
maybe TCU.
Pretty sure
Maybe.
you went higher, and I was like, that's not how it works. Come on now, you can't
Come
have
on,
something in
make
the
my own
reserve
scale.
there. I mean, on my notes, I put, and I think it's fair for both sides. I said, is Bama better than they were last year? I put ... We'll see. I mean, right now on paper, probably not talent-wise, but not that they're a bad team. They're still going to compete for a title, and who knows how the year ends up. But just with all the guys that got drafted, Dylan, all your Detroit guys too, it was a good roster. However, on the flip side, I said the same for Texas. Is Texas a better team? ... They were made out to be. Coach Sarkisian was very praising of the team. The media, myself included, Dylan included, we were hopeful. Are we saying like title bound? No, but hopeful that they look better. But the loss of guys like Bijan and Roshan, I hate to harp on it, did seem to play, a little bit of an impact, at least week one. I think their loss is going to be tough to overcome, especially so early in the season. Maybe later they've found ways to, defeat it in the aggregate to, get some Billy Bean in us. But right now, it's also a ... We'll see. They should be better theoretically with more experience and just guys, being more comfortable and confident in their positions. But it's too early to say, so I feel like both of these are kind of toss-ups. But this is going to be a huge game, Dylan, for the Longhorns in terms of confidence levels. If they win this game, I mean, Austin's going to go crazy. It might be burning at some point. Maybe not great for Austinites. But if they lose, I don't even want to say depending on how they lose, but how they lose will matter. It could really wreck the confidence of a team that is expected to win the Big 12 title. Of course, all we're hoping for is a good game. We got College Game Day there, but I do believe the danger level should rightfully be a 10. Now, Dylan, predictions. How are you feeling? Is the Kool-Aid still plentiful? Have you run out?
Yeah, I oh my God. After watching the game tape, Denver for Alabama, there's no Tennessee State. It really showed why, like, well, when you listen to like the national people as they talk about these types of sports, where it's like, yeah, Alabama is the team, even though they don't have those household names, and it's like the best way I could liken it, Devon, is to answer your question, is Alabama better than they were last year? Probably not, but the level that they were last year was a top four team, and if they're a little bit worse than that, they're still
They're
arguably a
still.
top four, top five team. Yeah, and Texas is coming from a 8-5 team, and if we're saying they're going to be better, then that's kind of 9-3, 10-2. That's kind of what we're dealing with here, and I think we're getting a little ahead of ourselves, thinking that Texas is now just at the level that Alabama is right at this moment, and that's why, sadly, I got Alabama winning 27-23, Devin. So I got Texas covering. I think it's a little higher than people would think because it's going into Tuscaloosa, but I still think it's going to be more than a field goal. I think Alabama is the better team when you look at just how complete they are and all the ends. And just I really like how Milroe plays. I'm high on him, right? Just with his talent. And I think they just got enough playmakers around him to make it work. And then when you look at the linebacking core, you look at the secondary, if their play up to their standard and they're healthy, very hard to move the ball on them. And again, with Ewers not showing the accuracy that you'd want, I don't want to put my eggs in that basket in my prediction and being like, oh yeah, everything's gonna be fixed going into this game. Where it's like, well, he hasn't shown you that it's fixed yet. Why would I think it's now going to be fixed going into this game? So again, I could eat my words here, but that is why I'm going to be going with Alabama.
No, I agree. This is a prove-it game. I feel like in years past, I have picked Texas in these matchups, like Dylan's saying, where there's been some things that need to be improved, and we were just like, oh, like at some point it'll be fixed. I'm not going to be picking for that until I see it being fixed. I also have Alabama, Dylan. I have them winning 24-20. But I also wrote down if there was ever a chance to beat Alabama, just with the inexperience, not talent, because talent's it's there. Like, Alabama fans, don't take this as disrespect. Talent is there. As Dylan was saying, top four, top five, if that's like your, I guess, your safety net, like, and you can only go up from there or in that range, like, you're doing quite fine. Texas, as Dylan said, going from 8 wins, can they get to that 10 mark? Definitely a different conversation there. But this is the year to beat Bama, Dylan, if there was a chance to beat Bama in Tuscaloosa. But it's just, I had to censor myself here, Dylan. I said, when the poop hits the fan and things aren't working for Texas, because we know at some point in this game The only question is when. At some point in this game, when things aren't working, what can Texas rely on? That is my point of contemplation for you all at home. Because
really good point.
If Texas wants to win, like I said, X Factor wise, when poop hits the fan, it's got to be Quinn Ewers in the end of the day. Unless a running back like C.J. Baxter just makes a freshman, Heisman moment going on, or Jonathan Brooks breaks something crazy, it's going to be on to Ewers, at least offensively. Defensively, maybe Jalen Ford makes a play or something. But when offensively, that's the focus. When stuff isn't working, what's going to happen? Because usually in the years past, Dylan with Sark, in these away games, they get to a little point of just they're in a rut. And there's been games where Quinn has just been off the entire game. There's been games where he's been on the entire game. But that's what was big in the Rice game, was he wasn't on that first half, but he did show some maturity at least in coming back in the second half and was ready to fire. When stuff gets tough, what's going to happen? I don't know if you have any thoughts there. It looks like you're wanting to jump in. I see.
Oh my God. Well, you're starting talking about the defense, and that's the biggest thing. So we're going to talk about what can Texas hang its hat on right here. And I think it's the defense. And you haven't been able to say that in years past, but this is the year if they are going to win. And when you talk about what can they hang their hat on, it is that defense. It is that front seven that can win this game, and they can make Milroe look like a third game starter, right? Like Milroe doesn't have a ton of experience either. So there is a situation or scenario that Texas' defense wins this game with a pick six, causing turnovers, putting themselves in great field position that even if the offense doesn't capitalize, they get field goals, and they muck this game up, Devon, make it look like poop, to use your vulgar language.
Vulgar language
right
there,
now. Yeah. But and they win this 17-7 or something, or 13-10. Like, if they can muck this game up, right, defensively, there is that reality in which they can win. But again, we don't know that. And again, if we're high on this Alabama offense and how they looked, then it's less likely than what we've just described.
No, I agree. They can muck it up, but at the end of the day, the offense is also going to be in a muck at some point, and they're going to have to make a play. What are they going to do? And I agree, defensively right now, if you have to hang your hat on something for this team, it probably is the defense. But at the end of the day, you're going to have to score points, and Sark knows that. They've been prepping for this game for probably months, if we're being honest. Who's going to make the play when it counts? Is it going to be Alabama? I hate to say it, Texas fans, but who's going to take the first punch, and who's going to be able to receive the first punch and deliver the counter? Get some TKO action. I don't know. We'll see. But guys, who do you got winning this game? What's your score prediction? Let us know down below. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Visit us at HornSports and have a great rest of your day.